Hi, hello everyone. Just going to give everyone a few minutes to join. It's 12:31. We're so excited that you're all here. Just going to get started in about 1 minute. So grab a beverage, get cozy. All right, we got a good group here. So I'll give everyone just a little bit more time to join us. Again, thank you guys so much for being here. Okay. So I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. So welcome everyone. Thank you all for being here at our webinar today. This is our class preparing for the 4th trimester, how to nourish yourself after birth. My name is Seiden. I am the dietitian and diabetes educator at Maternal Fetal Medicine Associates in Manhattan. And I am co-hosting this webinar, this very informative class today with Viktoria Sekamov. She is a dietetic intern who's been working with me for the past few weeks from Teachers College at Columbia University. So I'm going to get us started here and just introduce myself a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it over to Viktoria to conduct this class for us. Towards the end, we're going to have a time for Q&A session where I'll be able to answer some pre-submitted questions, but also any questions that you in the audience might have today. And then Victoria is also going to lead us through a fun cooking demo. And resources are going to be sent out at the end of the presentation, as well as a recording. So even if you missed something, you will definitely be getting everything that you need. All right, so welcome again. Let's get started. So this is preparing for the 4th trimester. We're going to be talking about post-birth nutrition today. So again, here we are. Again, my name is Casey. I'm a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator. I am also a mama. I have a 6-month-old daughter. And you can find me on Instagram if you want more resources talking about prenatal, pregnancy, nutrition, and gestational diabetes at Eat Well Together. And here is Victoria. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then I'm going to let her take it away. So Victoria, the floor is yours.
So, hi, my name is Victoria, and as Casey said, I'm a dietetic intern at Columbia University. I also have a starting Instagram page if you're interested, Wombs to Spoons, also focusing on prenatal, postpartum nutrition. And I also recently became a mother. So if there's one thing in common between me and Casey, is that we are also mothers, and we've been through ups and downs of pregnancy and postpartum, and we're really here to help you and guide you through this process. So today we will talk about some changes that you might expect postpartum, some of the nutrients that it's best to focus on after birth. Also, if you had gestational diabetes, what happens after birth? Also, some practical tips to prepare for postpartum, and the fun cooking demo, and obviously followed by Q&A to address any questions that arise during the talk. So what is the 4th trimester? Like with everything, I only found out what the fourth trimester really is when I got there. And it's really a period of immense physical and emotional changes. It is also time of vulnerability, but also incredible strength. It is time of joys, but also some tears. Um, it is really an intense period of time. And ultimately, it looks very different for everyone, and that is fine. I encourage you to honor your choices and trust that what you choose for yourself and your baby is the best. Whether it's complete bed rest for 6 weeks or introducing gentle exercise early on, whether you choose to breastfeed, pump, um, or do all of the above, uh, it's really, you know best what's best for you and what's best for your baby. And you're doing the best you can. But unfortunately, in our society, the support for mothers stops a few days after she has given birth, when in fact, it's arguably when she needs it the most. And I found myself being discharged from the hospital, not really knowing what to do, and feeling like when I needed the doctors and all that help was actually when I was discharged from the hospital with a newborn baby. So let's talk about some physiological changes, and there are loads, and these are just scratching the surface. So your uterus goes down to from a size of a watermelon to 2 ounces in about a year. It's also likely to have some tears during your birth. The place of the placenta that comes out is left with a scar, which is completely normal. There are also birth tears, C-section. All of this is accompanied with some degree of blood loss. Also, there are immense changes in hormones. Almost very soon after birth, estrogen, progesterone kind of plummet, oxytocin increase with breastfeeding, and also your body is trying to produce breast milk. Even if you choose not to breastfeed, your body is still producing that breast milk for some time, needing some extra calories. All of those hormonal changes also can cause symptoms like hair loss, constipation, baby blues that can ultimately also lead to postpartum depression. So the least thing that we can do to support our body after we've been through a feat, almost like running 10 marathons, is to nourish it and replenish it with whole foods. And you know, you might, I hear it a lot, people say, oh, but I don't have time. And let alone time, you need to make time for this when you have the least time ever possible. But actually, it doesn't have to be hard. You could just whip up some very easy, quick, nourishing snacks, some easy to make dishes. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. And we will cover and run through how this can be possible and supporting that. So in general, your diet should more or less stay similar to your pregnancy. And this handout was created by Casey, which really neatly demonstrates how a healthy kind of pregnancy plate looks like, which is also applicable to postpartum. So here you see half of the plate is like leafy greens, some nice veggies, non-starchy veggies. Then another quarter of your plate is some nice protein, meat, chicken with skins on, and that we will discuss later why. Also seafood, cheese, and then the other quarter of your plate is some whole grains, starchy vegetables like sweet potatoes, peas, whole grain pasta, whole grain bread. Also making sure to include some fruits, some oils, and make sure to keep on taking your prenatals. This is something that people drop as soon as they deliver, but actually it's very important to keep on taking those prenatals, prenatal vitamins, so that you might be addressing some of the gaps that can arise in your nutrition. Another thing that's super important is hydration. Breast milk is basically loads of water. So you're producing and releasing loads of water. So the advice is to drink as much as you can, drink when you feel thirsty, and drink every time you breastfeed or you pump. And also, don't be scared of incorporating some healthy sources of fat in your diet. Postpartum is not a time to lose weight. And as much as the culture today urges us to bounce back, we're not actually rubber balls to be bouncing back. It's completely fine to give your body that time to nourish yourself, to replenish, and fat can do that. Healthy fats like found in vegetables like avocado, salmon, nuts, seeds, olive oil, those are all good to, first of all, keep you satiated. And secondly, those healthy fats can also go into your breast milk if you choose to breastfeed, which is also beneficial for your baby. And the most important part really is to listen to your body. You know best what your body needs. And as long as you follow your hunger, fullness, and thirst cues, you should be fine. Always have on hand a snack, a water bottle, day and night. And if you have someone, someone who's going to be with you at this period, give them this task. Just give me water all the time. Offer me water all the time. Hand me a water bottle all the time. Have a favorite water bottle that you always carry with you. Have a snack on hand that is easily available, even if it's a healthy option of a store-bought a snack. Just that is key. So let's talk some real stuff. So these are the key nutrients that we would advise to focus on. However, they are definitely not the only ones or exhaustive. It's not an exhaustive list. So iron and zinc, chances are that you will lose some blood during birth and a few days after. These iron stores need to be replenished to prevent iron deficiency anemia. It has also been shown recently in some studies that iron and zinc through diet can go into your breast milk, which is also very important for your baby. Zinc has also been suggested to prevent postpartum depression. Collagen. Collagen, really, we advise collagen because it's rich in glycine, which is ultimately, glycine is a building block of your internal collagen. And thinking about all the tears, all the changes in the mother's cartilage, all the scars, maybe even C-section, healing after C-section, collagen is huge. And adding in some collagen help you heal faster from all these scars. Choline is important for the brain development and memory of the baby, which again can go through to your breast milk. The recommended intake of choline is actually even higher in breastfeeding mothers than even in pregnancy. Iodine is an important player in production of thyroid hormones. And we know that during pregnancy, the mother's thyroid produces thyroid hormones, not only for herself, but also for the baby. So it's very taxing for the thyroid to be producing so much. And we need iodine for thyroid hormones to function. So during breastfeeding, iodine is also needed for the babies. So all of this is making the thyroid gland quite exhausted. So we want to support that with including as many sources of iodine that we can to produce those hormones. Choline, I talked about choline. Omega-3s and vitamin D, I guess everyone heard about them, and it's almost even getting boring, but that's because it's true. So omega-3s, we're talking mainly about DHA and EPA, which are sources coming from fish and seafood. They are preferable since plant-based omega-3s have a lower conversion rate. Those omega-3s can also go into your breast milk and nourish your baby, but they're also very important for the mother. Vitamin D, breast milk tends to be low in vitamin D naturally, just because vitamin D, the majority of us is vitamin D deficient. So taking vitamin D supplement or even just going under the sun is very helpful. So now you might be wondering, okay, I got it, but how do I include these in my diet? And don't worry, we've got you here too. Collagen can be found in everything that you can think of that contains cartilage. So that can be skin, so chicken skin, that's why I mentioned chicken with skins on. It can be some bones, it can be cartilages. So thinking of some nourishing bone broth that can also provide you that extra fluid that you need. Thinking about some beef stews, even fish has some collagen, so maybe making a fish stock out of the whole fish, the head, the tail, the everything will be a good source of collagen. And if you are vegetarian or vegan, you can also choose to have a collagen supplement, collagen powder that you can add to your smoothies, which is a very easy and quick way of introducing that into your diet. And we also want to support your endogenous production of collagen, and that can be helped by vitamin C. So thinking of eating all those nice vegetables and fruits. Here I have an example of a kiwi and a broccoli, but really the options are limitless. Choline lately has become the new almost super nutrient. Everyone is talking about it in our field. And eggs are one of the richest sources of choline. Just 2 eggs can satisfy half of the daily need of the choline for pregnant women. Some other sources can be chicken, fish, and beans. So omega-3s, DHA and EPA, as I said, the most efficient way to get these is through cold water fish. So salmon, anchovies, tuna. However, make sure to only have around 2 servings a week due to mercury exposure, and try to choose a low mercury fish. Plant-based omega-3s are also great. They're a little less efficient, but they're very important for other things. So adding flax seeds, chia seeds, nuts. In the end of the day, if you choose to, and if you feel more comfortable, you can also choose a very high quality supplement. Iodine is high in any kind of seafood, seaweed, whole grain bread, iodized salt, even dairy, but actually dairy is not that high in iodine, but it seems like, according to certain studies, in the US, people get most of their iodine intake through dairy, even though seafood and seaweed tends to be more dense in that nutrient. Iron and zinc you can get from majority of meats, especially red meat, chicken thighs, but also fish, as well as zinc from nuts and seeds and whole grains, and iron from lentils, beans, and chickpeas. For vegetarian sources of iron, also remember to pair it with a source of vitamin C for better absorption. And also, if you're having animal sources of iron, it's good to pair it with vegetarian sources of iron, because that also increases absorption of iron in general. Vitamin D can be obtained through a supplement during winter time, but also through exposure to sunlight. It's been shown that even 15 to 20 minutes a day with exposed arms and head can give almost sufficient amount of vitamin D to your body. Obviously, there are different variables like the latitude you're at, the time zone, the time of the day, all of that. So supplement is advised. It is advised to even supplement with vitamin D the baby, but for that, it's best if you consult your pediatrician. So some of you might have gestational diabetes, and shout out to you. You're amazing and doing incredible and hard work. Remember that gestational diabetes is not really your fault, but your placenta throwing all those hormones at you and making blood sugar control even harder for your body when everything is hard already. So once your placenta is gone, usually gestational diabetes also resolves itself. However, we see that 50% of people may still develop type 2 diabetes sometime after pregnancy. For this reason, it's really advised to check your blood sugar during your postpartum visit and really insist with your doctor to have that checked. Also, test your HbA1c every 1 to 3 years just to stay on track, just to make sure that, you know, everything is fine and that if something is going out of hand, we can catch it early on. So now onto some real talk. What can you do now to make sure you're getting all those nutrients when you need them the most, but you have the least amount of time? Here are the few suggestions. Firstly, ask for help. It takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to support a new mom. So ask for help after birth, but most importantly, try to arrange that help before delivery. You will need it, whether it's your parents, your in-laws, or a postpartum doula. If neither of these works, discuss with your partner now how you would like him or her to support you or to support each other. Have a discussion about how you each see this time and how you plan to approach it. There are also other options. You can ask your friends and family to bring you meals. Mealtrain is an amazing kind of app or resource. Through Mealtrain, you can arrange meals dropped off to your house by your friends. They can sign up and have a schedule of who brings you food. It's super helpful. You can also consider some meal delivery services if you like those. But also you could just meal prep. Literally stuff your freezer with some goodies, stews, soups, frittata. You know, you could even just have, while you're cooking your meal now during your pregnancy, just have, if you have something extra, freeze that, and you'll have that care package for yourself when you really need it. There are also things that you can buy or prepare ahead. And these are just the things that were helpful to me personally, but these are definitely not the only things. So thinking of snacks, maybe your favorite snacks, or maybe researching ahead, looking some low carb protein bars, some nice lactation cookies that are not overloaded with sugar, just choosing those. Also frozen or pre-packaged fruits and vegetables. A lot of people are scared of them, but actually sometimes they're even more nutritionally dense than the vegetables that were not frozen, just because they've been stored for so long. So those are super helpful, just grabbing them, putting them in your soup. Canned beans, lentils, tomatoes. Hummus was my staple together with yogurt, because hummus is just super nutrient dense with chickpeas, tahini. Making ahead some bone broth might be useful because, well, you probably won't have time to do that once the baby arrives. Also, maybe preparing your own smoothie packs, favorite soups, stews, marinate your meat and put it in the freezer, bake eggs, frittata, all that can be frozen and saved for the later. And in my personal experience, I made a big mistake. I didn't teach my husband how to use the oven or anything. So really for some time, I was just eating whatever he made, which was not so great, but I'm still very grateful. But also, you know, if you plan to pump, you should leave some space in the freezer for your pumped milk, because at the end of the day, you can open your freezer and there is no space because it's full of food. Of course, these are all general guidelines and tips. Would always advise you to get some professional help with an RD who can help you resolve any individual postpartum problems that may arise: hair loss, postpartum thyroiditis. Working with an RD postpartum is very important, and we have a great dietitian on staff, Casey, who you saw and who introduced me. And you can schedule an appointment to improve your nutrition for conception, to meet nutrient goals during pregnancy, support your postpartum eating habits, manage gestational diabetes, or also just reduce your risk of gestational diabetes and type 2 diabetes in the future if that's something you're worried about. And now I'm going to prepare for the food demo, and I will leave this up to Casey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victoria. All right, she's going to disappear and like Food Network up her kitchen. So we're going to move on to a little bit of question and answer for the next 10 minutes or so. So if you have any questions, you can be dropping them in the Q&A or in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing here so I can see that. Okay. So if anyone has questions, you can go ahead and drop them in the Q&A box. I'm going to start with a question that was submitted ahead of time from someone. So the question here that I have is, they're wanting us to discuss recommended pregnancy gap between labor and becoming pregnant again. Are there any risks to a second pregnancy within 12 to 18 months, and can they be mitigated with proper nutrition? So that's a really great question. You know, something to talk about with your OB for sure, but in terms of when it comes to nutrition and in my specialty with gestational diabetes, let's say, there are, you know, some valid points to postpartum, you know, maybe after that initial 6 months, perhaps focusing on getting back to a healthy weight can be helpful as you go into your next pregnancy. Even if it's just losing about 7 to 10% of your weight, that could dramatically reduce your risk of having gestational diabetes or type 2 diabetes in your future. So, you know, we want to give our body that time frame to, you know, heal for sure. And then we can start to maybe prioritize that nutrition if we do plan on getting pregnant again, prioritizing the nutrition and the exercise and movement piece. Absolutely. So that was one question. I'm getting some here. So what are our favorite snacks postpartum or third trimester? This is a great snack question. So Victoria shared some that she relied on. I personally was doing a lot of kind of like energy bite things where I would make them a mix of maybe oats and peanut butter and flaxseed and dates. These have a lot of common ingredients that may or may not also support breastfeeding and milk production. So I loved those. I kept a big batch in the fridge and I was grabbing them all the time. Nuts and trail mix seemed to also be a good one for me. I liked that sweet and that kind of salty, crunchy type of a snack. And definitely keeping fresh fruit on hand, as it was really hydrating, was also helping with fluid needs. So I would recommend keeping plenty of fruit too. And those could also be all great for the third trimester as well. Okay, next question. Let's see, we answered that one. So can you recommend a trustworthy source of collagen or vitamin D supplements? Sure. Collagen is one of those trendy things out there right now. Absolutely. I personally am a fan of 2 brands for collagen. The first one being from a company called Needed. So the longer name that you might Google for would be Nourishment is Needed. It's a newer prenatal supplement company out there, and they actually have powdered prenatal vitamin. They have probiotics, and they also have an amazing, very clean label, grass-fed collagen. So I'm a big fan of the Needed collagen. And the other one that's very popular is called Vital Proteins. They have a few different versions. They also have flavored ones. They have packets that are things that you can add to your water. So super easy and accessible ways to get collagen these days. For vitamin D supplements, I think that really depends on kind of what your individual needs are. So there's maybe not one brand that I would recommend for everyone. It might be something to, discuss with either your doctor or with myself. All right, next question. Are there any specific foods that will help to stimulate milk production? I think this is the million-dollar question that so many new moms want to know. So foods that stimulate milk production are often referred to as galactagogues. And common ones that you might hear about would be things like oats or things like flax seeds or buckwheat. And a lot of the, based on personal experience, I can say as a breastfeeding mom, I've potentially seen some benefit from including those in my diet. But as Victoria was talking about, in postpartum and if we're breastfeeding or expressing milk for pumped bottles, hydration is really crucial for that breast milk production. So certain foods might be helpful, but definitely keeping up with your overall fluid intake through water, bone broth, teas, all those things can really help. And at the end of the day, you might want to consider meeting with a lactation consultant if your breast milk production is something that's concerning, because our diet doesn't necessarily always have everything to do with it. It could be a latch issue. There could be lots of things going on, but you could certainly, it doesn't hurt to include those beneficial foods in your diet. Okay. All right, one of the questions was about supplementing breastfed babies with vitamin D versus mom taking a supplement. We did talk about that a little bit. A lot of pediatricians will maybe recommend a vitamin D supplement for the baby themselves, but that's something you'd want to discuss with them. But as Victoria mentioned, there's lots of benefits to including vitamin D for mom, even besides breastfeeding. It can help to reduce postpartum depression. It can also help with bringing blood sugar levels back down to a normal range. So making sure mom gets her vitamin D is also really important. All right, we'll get through a few more questions here. Victoria's almost ready for her cooking demo, it looks like. So we'll buzz through these few questions. Let's see. Is it okay to lose extra weight while having a nursing baby? Baby relies on mom exclusively. That's right. I think Victoria brought up a good point that we're kind of, our culture leads us to believe that moms do have to bounce back very quickly. And from what I've heard, and even in my own experience, if you're a breastfeeding mom, it can almost be the opposite. Everyone says, oh, breastfeeding is going to help you lose weight, but it is an immense time to produce all of that breast milk. We require an additional 600 calories every day to produce breast milk. So some women actually find it the opposite, where they have a tough time losing weight during breastfeeding and actually might gain a little bit because they're so hungry all the time. Weight loss could be a side effect of breastfeeding. But at the end of the day, when I'm working with someone, it might not be my goal to have a breastfeeding mom, have it be their main priority to lose weight. My main priority would be to support that mom in making sure that she is producing enough breast milk if that's what she chooses, and that her diet is, well-rounded and balanced, and keeping her feeling satisfied and nourished and not hungry and cranky all day long. No one needs that as a new mom. So it could be okay to lose weight. I would just, caution in the way that we go about that. And, having a well-formulated plan is definitely something that I can help with, or, you should work with someone to walk you through that process. All right. And I think actually the last question we already kind of answered. So Victoria is in her kitchen, chefed up. If there are more questions that come in, we can always come back and answer them towards the end here. But Victoria has some yummy recipes that she's going to get to right now. I'm going to turn it over to her again.
So hello, welcome to my kitchen. And these are really, really quick and easy recipes that are also nutrient dense. And we will also be sending out some handouts. So the first one, we'll make 2 recipes. First one includes eggs, salmon, smoked salmon, my favorite, some seaweed, and some chives. So we just quickly whip up 6 eggs that will make 6 little portions of this. And you really just want to put a little bit of salt in it, just because the smoked salmon is already salty. And I also have a salty seaweed, but you know, it's really, you can get seaweed from all these Japanese stores. It's really that nori seaweed that you see that is wrapped up on the rolls, sushi rolls. And I just kind of cut it up like little pieces like this. So, so then go ahead, put some salmon in your little ramekins. You could also kind of grease your muffin forms. I'm just using some silicone little forms just because it's more easy. And so if you have those, that's fine. If you don't, that's also fine. I chopped up my salmon, but you could even really just get a big piece of salmon and put it on the bottom. That also works. And then, you know, just put the chives into your eggs together with the seaweed. Mix it up. It's very easy. Once it's mixed, you kind of distribute it, and you know, who has time to spoon? Like no one does. So just put it in like this. That's fine. Not especially as a mom to a newborn baby. And putting it into the oven, 360 Fahrenheit for 15 minutes. So that was very quick and easy, huh? So now on to our next thing. It's gonna be, and I hope you can see it. Oops, sorry. Technical difficulty. So yeah, now you can't see my face, but I think that's fine. You had enough of that. So turning on our pan to medium, we really want like a tablespoon of butter, one onion chopped up, so we'll wait till it melts, and a tablespoon of olive oil. And once it's kind of melted, you can add on the one onion. And this is going to be a liver pate. So as we talked, liver is very dense in iron, vitamin A, all those nutrients. It's really like another superfood. So making liver pate is super easy. You can also freeze it later and just kind of pre-prepare it for your postpartum period, and then just whip it on your whole grain toast or have it with some chopped up veggies. It's very, very convenient. So now the butter is almost melted, and I forgot my. So putting in our onions, and this is going to be interesting. I know maybe it doesn't sound appetizing, but we're going to put in some anchovies. So 4 or 5 anchovy fillets with capers. So we're putting it in, and it actually creates a very nice smell and taste because anchovies and the capers are quite salty. I don't advise to salt the liver very much anymore. So we fry this up until the onion is translucent. It really should ideally take just a few minutes. And so the liver usually has some of these fats and some of the kind of parts from the vessels that you would like to cut it off, but it's also very easy to do. And you know, if you follow more of like a vegetarian or vegan diet, that is fine. As I said, there are many nutrient dense recipes for vegetarian and vegan. We just kind of, for the sake of time, we didn't do that, but we will be sending out handouts that have some of those too. Um, Thinking of things like hummus, um, some nice, you know, lentil stew with coconut milk and some spinach. It's all very quick and easy. And I heard for some women, it's incredibly helpful to have one of those instant pots, the one that you close and it has a pressure on. That kind of makes cooking everything a lot easier and much quicker. So the smells are amazing. And I wish you could smell it through the Zoom, but unfortunately I cannot translate that to you. It's very interesting that this capers and the anchovies give this very interesting smell, very appetizing. So now we can put in our liver. I mean, for the sake of time, the onion is not translucent yet, but oh well. Uh, so you really want to make sure that the liver is cooked through. And the liver is so quick to cook through, really. So it really takes maybe 5-10 minutes. I always advise to kind of check, you know, by cutting and looking if it's still has a lot of blood or if it's fine. And sorry for those people who might be in their first trimester and actually are triggered by a lot of things, especially things like that. I've been there, so actually I apologize. So making sure it's nice and cooked through. You can really just leave it be there. And this recipe can also be prepared ahead of time. It doesn't need any fancy ingredients. You can also use a beef liver. I'm using chicken livers. And for it to cook even quicker, you can chop it up smaller. All of those things are very helpful. And I'm thinking maybe while this is getting prepared, maybe there are some room for another Q&A, another question or so, Casey.
You read my mind, Victoria. I was just going to say we had some more questions come in. So one of them, someone is asking, are there certain foods that I should avoid if I pump exclusively? So I know coming from pregnancy, you know, we have ingrained in us a certain kind of like foods that are off limits, foods that we should be not having as much of during pregnancy. And some of that can be still true if we are breastfeeding or if we are expressing milk via pumping. But really the big ones to still limit might be high mercury fish. So some of the fish that Victoria mentioned, such as the anchovies and the salmon and things like that are very low mercury. So you can have those, but the higher ones that you avoided in pregnancies, such as the tuna and the swordfish and tilefish, things like that, we still want to limit those if we're breastfeeding or pumping. You know, caffeine still might be something to be mindful of. I know all new moms are so eager to bring caffeine back into their life. I sure was. And you can certainly enjoy a bit more caffeine if you're breastfeeding than you were pregnant, but just being mindful of excessive amounts. Other than that, there's not really many foods that you need to avoid. We want to focus on more of what are those foods that we can add? What are those foods that really will help to nourish you as you're breastfeeding or pumping? Another question is, you mentioned how important it is to continue taking your prenatals after birth. What are your recommended prenatal vitamin brands and what to look out for on the labels? This is a loaded question, and it's definitely not one that we can just answer very generally. There are so many prenatal vitamins out there on the market and so many multivitamins that might fit the bill for postpartum as well. But what you'd want to look for, kind of as Victoria was walking us through, is what are those nutrients that are of higher need in the postpartum period. So it might be more iodine and less focus on iron. You might want to find one that has additional vitamin D or has some of those omega-3s in there. Again, this is something that would probably be a little bit more personalized, and there are so many different options out there at different price points and different qualities that might be important to you. All right, here's another question. My husband just started buying avocado oil over olive oil. Is there an advantage to olive oil? They are both really great oils. They're both kind of monounsaturated, healthy oils. So I personally prefer just to use them for different purposes. So using olive oil in more of a cold preparation when doing salad dressings and marinades and things like that, and maybe using avocado oil if I'm going to be cooking over high heat. So, but great job for your husband for, you know, maybe thinking ahead, and is he gonna jump in the kitchen? That's really great. Okay. Should alcohol be avoided when breastfeeding? Another really good question. You know, and I am not a certified lactation consultant. It is certainly not my area of expertise, but as a breastfeeding mom, I wondered the same thing. And so from my reading and research and talking from friends who do work in that field, you know, I was best advised that it is okay to drink alcohol if you are breastfeeding, but it takes about 2 to 3 hours for alcohol to be cleared from your blood so that it's not then passed into your breast milk. So best tips given to me were enjoy your glass of wine as you are maybe feeding baby, and because they're not getting the alcohol that immediately, and it's really taking a little bit of time until it would pass into your breast milk. But again, this is maybe more of a personal choice, but you can certainly get back to enjoying adult beverage if you would like. And then I know there was one other good one here in the chat. Yeah, this was a common one. So talking about, there's kind of two related questions here, talking about constipation during pregnancy and then postpartum too, I think. Digestion and constipation, these two things kind of go hand in hand. Two of our best nutrition tips to address this would be increasing your amount of fiber. So we're going to get all of our fiber from these fruits and vegetables, doing lots of whole grains, nuts and seeds, things like beans and lentils. Those are really going to help to kind of bulk things up and get them moving through your system. But we want to follow up all that fiber with hydration. So again, water, 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 your bone broth, lots of fluids and things like that will help to get things moving. And also, you know, movement, getting up and doing a little bit of light physical activity once you're cleared postpartum, or definitely during pregnancy, making sure that we're taking some time to get up and move our body. All of that can really stimulate that good digestion and keep those bowels moving. Sometimes we do need a supplement, a fiber supplement perhaps can help you, or something like a Colace, but nutrition can have a big impact as well. Okay.
So our liver is kind of getting ready. So it really took maybe 10 minutes for the liver to get cooked through. And really what you want to do next is super simple. You just put it into the blender. And for the sake of time, I'm not gonna do it, and the blender is not cooperating, so sorry. So we just really put it in the blender. You put a half a cup of shredded Parmesan cheese, which is my favorite part of this, and some lemon zest, which makes it very yummy. And then you put it in the blender, you blend it up, and really what you're gonna have is kind of this ramekin of liver pate, which you can just take and spread it on your toast in the morning as a snack, any way you want. And I think basically that's it. And we're gonna send you some handouts for the recipes. And I know that people really enjoy Q&A, so maybe we can stay on the Q&As a little more.
Yes, yeah, if anyone has any additional questions, you can keep dropping them in the Q&A box. I think we've answered all of them that have come in so far. And again, Victoria shared so many, really great tips and practical ways to incorporate these nutrients of concern in the postpartum period. But a lot of it can, maybe you need that more personalized help, or want someone to help look at a prenatal vitamin for you. So you can always contact our office. I see patients virtually with maternal fetal medicine, so we can make it really easy to help support you. But the fourth trimester, Victoria and I have both been there as new moms, so we understand how challenging and maybe how apprehensive you feel about going into that period. But if you kind of get your support system in place now, do some of this food prep like Victoria is sharing, it can really make all the difference. You might not be getting much sleep, but hopefully you'll be eating some delicious foods that you don't have to think too much about preparing when baby arrives. So, all right. Victoria, anything else you want to share? Any nuggets of wisdom for our mamas to be here?
Really just kind of, don't listen to anything that people tell you. And because there are so many advice, especially before you give birth, it's like, oh, you should buy this, you should do this. And my flag was full of things that I never even ended up using. So that's a side of nutrition advice. But really, it just shows that you should really just listen to yourself. And, you have this maternal wisdom that will guide you in most of the cases. And don't let anyone kind of stray you away from that.
100% agree. Yeah, there's a lot of things that people will tell you to prepare for, what boppy to get, what bottle warmer is going to be best, but, supporting yourself with nutrition and equipping yourself with these good foods and having a postpartum plan can make all the difference. So, all right. Well, I don't see any more questions coming in. So we're going to go ahead and end the meeting. Like we said, all these beautiful resources that Victoria's created with the recipes, links to different meal ideas, and the replay of this class is going to be sent to you, I believe, today or tomorrow. But be on the lookout for that. And you can always contact our office if you have follow-up questions. So I want to give a big shout out to Victoria, who has interned with me for the past few weeks. She has just done amazingly. And I know that working with women and supporting them in pregnancy is her passion, and can't wait to see her become a dietitian and get to help mamas just like you.
Thank you, Casey. And thank you everyone who joined. This really made it possible, and it's really just for you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your day and a good week.
Bye.
Bye.